All right. So, welcome to another segment of Casually Speaking, Philadelphia sports and sports in general forum or forum in training, whatever you want to call it. And for this segment, we're not going to talk about the Eagles. There'll be plenty of more times to talk about them throughout the season. This is going to be the first time on this segment, on this podcast, where I talk about a sports team other than the Eagles. And that sports team is the Philadelphia Phillies, our boys in red. As you know, today is March 26th. Tomorrow, March 27th, the Philadelphia Phillies officially begin their 2025 regular season campaign. And Phillies, over the last 5 to 6 years, they've been a good team ever since they um, made the blockbuster deal and signing Bryce Harper back in the spring. Was I don't remember if it was the winter of 2018 or the spring of 2019. But in that 18 to 19 off season, um, ever since they signed Bryce Harper, they have, for the most part, they have been what Philadelphia sports fans have hoped for. The only thing that they are missing is a championship, and they've been close a lot of the time. Um, First couple of years that Bryce was here, he we kind of came up short in 19, 20, and 21, especially in the 20 COVID season strike or not strike, but COVID shortened season. We came up short there, and that I remember watching that because the final day, all we needed to do was to win that final game of the season. We needed some help, but we got the help that we needed. I think a couple of other teams lost, and all we needed to do was beat Tampa Bay, and we would have been in the playoffs, and we didn't do it. So, yeah, that was a bummer. So the first couple of years in the Bryce Harper era, um, kind of were underwhelming. But since then, the Phillies have had a lot of good success. They've had a lot of good teams. 22, we went to the World Series, literally from coming in the back door of the baseball playoffs, that final wild card spot, to coming this close to a World Series that we really could have won against Houston. Um, and that was a heartbreaker, lose to the Astros in the way that we did, because we certainly we lost in 6 games, and I believe that if we had won that sixth game, we would have won that seventh game too, and we would have been champions. You know, that's that's how it goes sometimes. Um, but yeah, making the World Series in 22, to that devastating loss in 23, a team that I feel like was just as good as the 22 squad. In fact, the 23 team might have been the best team of of the new age Phillies here. And then yeah, we lost to lose to a team that really had no business being in the playoffs. Diamondbacks team was really just they were just like a team that caught fire. They really shouldn't have been in the World Series. I think that if we won that NLCS, we would have beaten them too. We would have beaten the Rangers in the World Series. That was a devastating one. That one hurt almost more than losing the World Series. because we were that good, and that was a real squad. And then last year we won the NL East, but we were just outplayed. We played badly in that DS. That's it almost seems like with each passing year, Philly's loss hurts more and more. Um, in 22, losing the World Series, that hurt. 23, losing to a clearly inferior team for no reason, that hurt. And then last year in 24, we losing to our biggest rival in baseball, that hurt even more because they just beat us. They really beat us because we beat ourselves. Bad at bats, um, undisciplined, you know, bad, bad. I'll say subpar to bad pitching outside of Zach Wheeler. Um, it was just bad. So the Phillies, I want to say on they've their success to um failure ratio, I'll say was maybe maybe about a 65-35, 60-40 over the last couple of years. Good runs, but not good enough for to um, achieve the ultimate prize. Which brings us to 2025. Spring training's over. As I mentioned, tomorrow begins the Phillies season in earnest. 2025 campaign. 6+ months of grueling baseball under the sun, under the hot sun in the summer. And what what do I expect from the Phillies this year? Well, I think that the Phillies are still going to be a good team. I think the Phillies are going to be a good team. I think that we will probably make the playoffs. Um, I think that we should be considered. I won't say a dead favorite for the World Series, but I think we've got a good chance. We've got some guys on the team that's been around the block a couple of times. They're not young guys. They're grizzled veterans, and um, they know how to get to the playoffs, and they know how to set themselves up for success. That said, kind of feel like this Phillies team, as we know it, could be this year, 2025, could be potentially their last chance to do it all together. This could be their last chance to win it all together. Think about a lot of our key guys that are in prominent roles. I mean, Bryce Harper, he's 32 years old. Trey Turner is 32, or he will be 32, I think. Kyle Schwarber is 32, 33. Um, Nick Castellanos he's in his 33 age 33 season. JT Real Muto 34, I believe, will be 34 this year. Zach Wheeler 35, Aaron Nola 31, I believe, 31 or 32, something like that. Um, a lot of our guys, they're not old, but they're not young guys. They're not spring chickens anymore. All right, they're not. It's not like they're still 25 or 26 years old. It's not like they're they still have their prime to to approach. No, most of our guys are in their prime, you know, at the in the initial stages their decline. They haven't declined yet. I'm not saying that our guys are declining, but this is especially for the positions that they play, the decline is on the horizon. I'll put it that way. The downside of their career is it's kind of like when you're on a road trip and you see and you'll see those signs on the side of the road saying that you're so many miles away from your destination. I know I've seen it on in travel when I go to like a place like South Carolina. If you've ever been to South Carolina, um, as you get closer to the state lines, the state border, you'll see a sign for, you know, south of the border. It might say south of the border is 120 miles away. Um, then driving a little further, you'll see south of the border 91 miles. Get a little closer, 60, 68 miles, 30, and so forth. I look at the Phillies as kind of like that. You know, still playing good, still some of the best in their position, best in the league at their position, but the declines are kind of like those billboards off to the side of the road. The decline is 2 years away or 1 year away or however whatever the case might be. I feel like that's kind of the case with the Phillies baseball team. This Phillies baseball team. So and that's a tough thing to think about because we as fans we've been watching this team for the last 5 6 years and we've grown to love each of these guys. They each have a special place in our hearts. Each of them with their personalities and some of the things that they've accomplished. You think about somebody like Bryce Harper, who's been the leader of this football. Thinking about Eagles, leader of this baseball team, and winning a couple of MVPs or winning an MVP. He's been the best player. He's won an NLCS MVP. He's been the best player for the Phillies. You think about somebody like Trey Turner, who's had to overcome um, struggles since he's been in the Phillies uniform to getting a standing ovation. You think about Nick Castellanos, who's really kind of like a wild card. You don't know what you're going to get from him. He he's he just goes out and he's just Nick being Nick, And then you think about Schwarber. Each of these guys has their own special place, Philadelphia Phillies, in Philadelphia sports fans' hearts, and I I have a real gut feeling that 2025 could potentially be their last run all together as part of the same team in the same uniform. They aren't getting any younger. That's just how it is. And some of these guys' contracts are going to be up. And if we don't do it this year, you know, who knows? Who knows what will happen going in the future? I mean, I think that some things are probably going to happen anyway. I think that some guys could potentially leave if they don't leave. If something doesn't happen by the trade deadline and they aren't traded out of here, I think that um, next year this time the Phillies could look very very different. So I want to see them be able to make one more run at this thing, at least one more run. And they all have to be on the same page. For me, I'm not a guy who likes to, you know, try to put try to put unreasonable expectations or try to place ultimatums on people. But this season for the Phillies is really got to be World Series or bust. And again, I'm not somebody who likes to do that. I don't want to put pressure on, but I think that's how this team needs to be thinking. It's gotta be it's gotta be World Series. It's gotta be show me now. Because if they don't do it this year, if they don't win the World Series this year, then the Phillies are just going to be remembered as a group. This current group of the Phillies, this current roster that we have right now, they're going to just be remembered as a group of guys, as a group of good players who, they fielded some good teams. They had some good runs together, but ultimately they fell short of the ultimate goal. And nothing more. Same with our pitching staff. Our pitching staff has got to be really good this year. Zach Wheeler, he was unbelievable last year. I thought that he got robbed of a Cy Young award. I mean, Sale won it, but I mean, to me, Zach Wheeler was the best pitcher, not just in the National League, but in baseball overall. And I thought it was a travesty. But then again, I'm not someone who expects the pundits and all the so-called experts out there to show Philadelphia sports a lot of love. Mildly surprised when Saquon Barkley got the Offensive Player of the Year. I wanted him to get the MVP too, but you know, for a Philadelphia athlete, that's kind of like being greedy. So I was I was disappointed, but I wasn't surprised that Zach Wheeler didn't get the Cy Young, the National League Cy Young. But yeah, our staff, they've got to be elite this year. Aaron Nola, um, he's got to be the inconsistencies has to be they have to be kept to a minimum. I really don't want to see. I really don't want to be wondering about whether or not I'm going to get good Aaron Nola or bad Aaron Nola or somewhere in between every game he starts. Um, Ranger Suarez, he's going to be starting the season on the injured list from what I've read. Um, the other player that we picked up, Jesus Lazardo. Um, I think that's a big that's a good pickup for us. I think that he'll fit in well with our team. Um, oh yeah, Alec Bohm. How could I forget Alec Bohm? He's uh, spare me all of the temper tantrums and all of the mood shifts and the bipolar episodes. Alec Bohm. Um, yeah, Alec Bohm, Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott, he said that he was hurt last year. Hopefully, he gets back to his 2023 form. That would be nice to see. But again, we need everybody to be on point, and I think they will be. I think that we are enough of a veteran team to where everybody can be can pick each other up and really pick up the slack. Um, there's no question that the Phillies are going to have down moments this season. I mean, I expect it. Baseball is a very long season, 162 games crammed in a span of 180 days, give or take. You're not going to be sharp all the time. You know, our best pitchers, they're going to have days where they give up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 runs in one game. There's going to be times where our best hitters go cold at the plate. I mean, ice cold. I'm talking like 1 for 40, two for 35, 0 for 30. They're gonna have they're gonna have those cold spells. That's just the nature of playing baseball. You're not gonna be sharp. There's gonna be times where the Phillies will get swept. I mean, it happens. They're going to get swept, and you may very well get swept by a team that is terribly inferior to you. You know, Phillies, the Rockies were one of the worst teams in the league last year. They might get swept by the Rockies. They might sweep the Dodgers and then turn around and get swept by the Rockies. That's just how it goes. I understand all of that. I I I don't want it to happen, but I have to expect. I have to give the Phillies room to to make mistakes. It's going to happen. It's baseball. Again, like I said, you're playing 162 games shoved into a span of 6 months. It. But what I don't want is for it to linger. We started out 2024. We started last year out as one of the best teams in baseball, and then man, when July and August came, and we went cold. I'm talking like worse than Antarctica cold. And then we started to warm back up again, and then at the end of the season, when the playoffs came around, we went cold. We went cold again, and it was October. But you think it was? You think we were in the heart of December in January by how cold we went? It was unbelievable. I never seen anything like it. We just played so bad at the worst possible time of the year. So the Phillies, they've got to do it this year. They have to, and we as fans, we want them to do it. We don't want another episode where you know guys bats guys are swinging at bad pitches, guys are chasing, guys are getting fooled. We don't want to see that. At least we don't want to see it in the playoffs. That's what we don't want to see. Um, I think that we're in a good position to really make some noise this year. Everyone's a year older. Everyone is pretty much healthy. Um, the dude, our one of our top prospects that we have, Andrew Painter. He's not going to be around to start the season in the beginning, but I'm looking forward to seeing him when he finally is healthy enough to pitch for us. Saying like sometime in July. forward to having him uh be a part of our team. He's been in our farm system for a while. Um, so that'll be nice to see. A couple of other guys, Max Kepler on the team now. He was with the Twins, I believe, for yeah, he's been with the Twins for about 9 years or so. Not a young guy, 32 years old. So he's another guy who's right in the prime of his baseball career. Um, so, yeah. Couple of players that I'd like to see. Got a new closer, Jordan Romano. Um, well, at least the closer in name. We'll see how that all plays out. Um, Christopher Sanchez. He's a guy that I think really has a chance to really be the breakout star for the Phillies. Christopher Sanchez was excellent last year. He has an All Star appearance to his name. I play fantasy baseball, and I've made it a point to try and get Christopher Sanchez on my team. So he's got a really good chance to really ascend to one of the to be one of the Phillies' best pitchers this year. Um, and you know, it should it's going to be really difficult to use the beginning of the season as a measuring stick for the Phillies. But when the calendar starts to hit the middle of July, going into August, going into September, I think that's when we'll really see what kind of a team it is. Snap judgments in March and April, in the early parts of May. I think we have to just wait and see. It's because it's such a long season, and we just don't know. It's too early to tell what kind of a painting this is going to be at such an early point in the season. We've got to give it some time. But in a broad sense, in a broad picture, I think that the Phillies, 2025 Phillies, have to be focused on um, the World Series. That that has to be the goal. In order for us to be remembered as a great team, which I think we are, we've got to win the World Series. That's really all there is to it. I mean that's what every team's trying to do. That's what you should be trying to do from the beginning, right? Is to win the World Series. But for this team in particular, for them to go down as one of the great teams in Philadelphia sports history, they have to win the World Series. And hopefully some of that good Eagles mojo will rub off on the Phillies and you know, influence their their um their effort into winning it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm it's always exciting when the on the eve of a new season, you know. It's always exciting to that feeling of optimism and wondering how your team is going to perform, how your team is going to fare. It's always nice to be able to have that bright-eyed optimism and that you know you can hardly wait. It's like when you get ready to go on vacation or whenever you the day before you start something new. It's like you can hardly sleep. You can contain yourself, and that's kind of how I feel. Phillies. It's a we're changing colors. We're going from green to red. You know, we're skipping the Sixers right now. I'll get on them another point in time, but Sixers, I can't really talk about them right now. Once they're eliminated from officially from playoff contention, I'll waste some time talking about them. But this is right now. It's all about the Phillies. And the way that I'll discuss it, I won't discuss each game individually, but I'm going to try and have a segment for each series that the Phillies play this. So this series against the Nationals is going to go from tomorrow afternoon all the way up until Sunday, and I'll just take some time. I'll try and take some time to talk about each series, whether it's 3 games, 4 games, 2 games, whatever it is. I'll just break down each series, talk about some of the things that I like, talk about some things I didn't like, and go from there. Um, and I'll discuss more at length each player and who you know stuff like that. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here talking about the Phillies in depth because it's kind of late now and I'm tired. But I thought I would at least just discuss what expectations I had for the Phillies this year before you know the first round. So another year, another Phillies campaign to get ready for, and I think that they it's time to push all our chips to the table. It's time to go all in and trying to bring another championship home. Try and bring a third World Series back to the city of Philadelphia. So let's get it. Like I've been hyped for the Eagles. Like I was hyped for the Eagles. I'm going to be hyped for the Phillies. Tomorrow begins the start of a long journey towards winning another championship, but I'm here for it. Philadelphia is here for it. We're going to be here to support our boys in red, and go Phils. It's all about the P. I know that was corny, but that's all I had. I'll try to keep the corny phrases down to a minimum. But yeah, Phillies tomorrow. First pitch is scheduled for 4:05, and I'll be there. I'll be there to support our team. So let's get it.